I'm Amber. Standing in the opulent ballroom of my grandmother's estate, I watched as my father, Victor, crumbled before my eyes. The room was filled with the gasps and whispers of guests, their eyes wide with shock. Just moments ago, I had exposed the truth that had been hidden for 28 years, shattering the facade of our so-called family. My family was part of the upper crust in Boston. Victor was a ruthless businessman, the CEO of a large real estate company. He was always cold, calculating, and obsessed with the family name and legacy. My mother, Isabella, was a gentle soul, constantly walking on eggshells around Victor. My brother, Leo, 26 years old, was the golden child, groomed to take over the family business. And then there was me, with my blonde hair and blue eyes, a stark contrast to the dark-haired, brown-eyed rest of the family. For as long as I could remember, Victor had made cruel jokes about my appearance. At family gatherings and business functions, he'd put his arm around me and say to his associates, "Look at this beauty. She's too fair to be mine. Must be the postman's." Everyone would laugh nervously, and I'd feel the humiliation burn inside me. I spent my teenage years trying to fit in, dyeing my hair brown, but Victor would just scoff and say, "You can't change your blood, Amber." 6 weeks before my wedding to my fiancé, Ryan, a contractor with a kind heart, Victor dropped a bombshell. We were having a supposed celebratory dinner at our family's mansion. The invitations were printed, the venue in Boston was booked, and everything was set. But Victor slid a DNA consent form across the table and said, "Prove you're Montgomery, or I won't walk you down the aisle." Ryan was furious. He knew how much this meant to me and how unjust Victor's demand was. But I remained calm. I remembered a conversation I'd had with my grandmother, Amelia, 3 years ago. She'd given me a manila envelope filled with my birth records and told me to keep them safe. At the time, I didn't understand why, but now it all made sense. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I chose an independent genetic lab in California, Farview Genetics, to conduct the test. I sent Victor a legal agreement, making sure the process was foolproof and he couldn't manipulate the results. The hardest part was convincing Isabella to give her sample. She was terrified of Victor's anger, but I managed to persuade her, telling her that this was our chance to clear her name. I started digging into my past. I visited Harborview Women's Hospital, where I was born. When I asked for my full birth records, I hit a wall. The records were restricted, but a kind clerk whispered to me about a special archive with risk management files from 1995 to 1997. I also learned that Victor's company had made a large donation to the hospital around the time of my birth, which made me suspicious. I tracked down Denise, a retired head nurse who was on duty the night I was born. She was scared, but I managed to meet her at a diner. She told me the horrifying truth. That night, the nursery was short-staffed. A trainee named Sarah accidentally switched the ID bracelets of me and another baby, a girl named Lily. When they realized the mistake the next morning, the hospital administration, afraid of a lawsuit and financial ruin, decided to cover it up. They forged the records and made Denise sign a non-disclosure agreement. Denise also showed me a photo of Lily. She looked exactly like Victor and Leo, with dark hair and brown eyes. I knew then that Victor had spent 28 years punishing me and Isabella for a mistake that was not our fault. Before the truth, revealing party at my grandmother's estate, Victor tried to cut me off financially. He froze my credit cards and sent a notice revoking my access to the family trust. Leo called me, begging me to stop, saying I was destroying the family. But I was determined to expose the truth. On the night of the party, Victor arrived late, looking smug and confident. He stood at the podium and tried to offer me a settlement in exchange for admitting I wasn't a Montgomery. But I had other plans. I showed the DNA results on the projector, proving that neither Victor nor Isabella was my biological parent. I also presented the nursing logs and Denise as a witness. Then I called Lily out. As she walked into the room, the resemblance to Victor and Leo was undeniable. Victor's world crumbled. He tried to deny everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. Isabella finally found her voice and demanded an apology from Victor for years of cruelty. And he finally broke down and apologized. In the weeks that followed, my lawyer launched a lawsuit against the hospital. We discovered that Victor had known about a potential identification anomaly, but had chosen to pay for silence. The hospital settled out of court, overhauled their identification protocol, and named it after the two families affected. 6 weeks later, on my wedding day, I stood in the church vestibule. Isabella linked her arm through mine and said, "I'm not giving you away. I just got you back." As we walked down the aisle, I saw Ryan waiting at the altar, his eyes filled with love. Lily was sitting in the front row, and Victor was in the second row, looking old and defeated. Looking back, I realized that biology doesn't define family. It's the truth, love, and support that bind us together. And I was finally free from the shadow of Victor's lies.